COVID-19 pandemic has brought unprecedented changes to our usual ways of living. But the Department of Education remains unfazed by these challenges to fulfill the mission of Sulong Edukalidad, the rallying call for national effort to deliver quality basic education to all Filipinos, which involve aggressive reforms in the 4 key areas: the K-12 curriculum review and update, improving the learning environment, teachers upskilling and reskilling, and engagement of stakeholders for support and collaboration to move forward together as we prepare the education system for the future. The call for Sulong Edukalidad will continue, and we have built the framework of the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan, or the BELCP, to put the needs of the learners at top priority. DepEd's BELCP is the major response and commitment to protect the health, safety, and well-being of learners, teachers, and personnel. The plan aims to provide opportunities to continue education even in these trying times with a BELCP in place, supported by an unprecedented number of diverse stakeholders from the academe, media, industry groups, NGOs, business and private individuals. Sulong Edukalidad will be able to sustain the aims in its reform for quality basic education. In our journey towards quality education, we have established the 4 pillars of aggressive reforms from the start, and we have been continuing to progress in these pillars. In improving the learning environment, we took action in the construction and rehabilitation of school buildings, ensured the availability of learning materials and equipment, and prioritized our last mile schools. The challenges of the pandemic also brought to light the urgent need to upgrade our ICT infrastructure to service the needs of education. In terms of the teachers upskilling and reskilling, we were able to establish more innovative professional standards for teachers and school heads. We have aligned the professional development of teachers with their career progression to track their development as part of the National Educators Academy of the Philippines transformation. With the launch of the Education Futures program, where we will be focusing on innovative actions and solutions to improve the state of our education, we are now more than ready to start a new journey and continue our fight for quality education for all Filipino learners. Finally, we've given high importance to the engagement of stakeholders for support and collaboration. In support of this, we have convened the Philippine Forum for Accessible Quality Basic Education, or the Education Forum, which leverage other partnerships for education quality and strengthen partnership with the Philippine Normal University as the country's national center for teacher education. The department has also been developing a professional development program for teachers and school leaders in order to equip them with the skills, materials, and data that will allow them to help their students prepare for PISA 2022. This intervention consists of the following components: online training for teachers and school leaders, development of learning materials and practice tests for students, deepening the analysis of the PISA 2018 results, and supporting school-level action research. Now that the year is about to end, our commitment to Sulong Edukalidad will continue and will be far from being gone. With a lot at stake, considering our new knowledge and experience from this year's challenges, we are equipped to face a new future. As we head on to the future where we will face many challenges and uncertainties, the department will always be the guardian of every Filipino learner's right to education.
Sino ba ang hindi naapektuhan? Sino ba ang hindi nag-alala? Sino ba ang hindi nalito? Lahat tayo ay naapektuhan. Lahat tayo ay nag-aalala. Lahat tayo ay nalito. Dahil binago ng pandemyang dulot ng COVID-19, ang paraan ng pamumuhay ng lahat ng mga Pilipino saan mang sektor ka nabibilang. Tumigil ang panandalian ang ating mga nakagawian. Tumigil ang lahat ng uri ng transaksyon. Tumigil ang lahat ng operasyon ng mga paaralan. Nakalilito. Nakakakaba. Paano na ang kinabukasan ng mga kabataan? Paano na tayo sa hinaharap? Opisyal na nilulunsad ng Kagawaran ng Edukasyon sa pangunguna ng Office of the Undersecretary for Curriculum and Instruction ang DepEd Teaches. Ito ay isang online na programa na gagabay sa mga guro, tagapangasiwa, magulang at mag-aaral hinggil sa mga pagbabago sa batayang edukasyon ngayong new normal. Ang DepEd Teaches ay angkla sa sulong edukalidad na nakatuon sa apat na pangunahing pangangailangan ng mapunyaging reforma tungo sa makalidad na pagtuturo at pagkatuto. Una, pagre-review at pagsasapanahon ng kurikulum ng K-12. Ikalawa, pagpapaunlad ng kapaligirang pampagkatuto. Ikatlo, paglinang ng mga bagong kasanayan sa mga guro. At ang ikaapat, ang pakikipag-ugnay sa mga stakeholder para sa suporta at kolaborasyon. Sa pamamagitan ng virtual learning platform, ang DepEd Teaches ang magsisilbing bukas na komunidad ng pagsasanay na titipon sa mga guro, tagapamunong pang-edukasyon at sa sino mang may pagnanais sa pagtataguyod ng kalidad na edukasyon sa bansa at sa pagtagumpay ng bawat Pilipinong mag-aaral. Ang mga opisyal, education specialist, learning content expert at outstanding teacher ng DepEd ang magiging tagapanayam na magbabahagi ng kanilang kaalaman at kasanayan sa kurikulum, pagtuturo at pagkatuto, pagtataya at lahat ng kaugnay na mahalaga sa proseso ng pagtuturo at pagkatuto sa new normal. Bilang mga frontliner ng classroom, inaasahang magiging aktibo ang mga guro sa programang ito. Ang mga tema at paksa ay angkop sa kanilang pangangailangan at konteksto sa pamamagitan ng accessible na platform, ang social media. Sumali na sa OUCI family sa DepEd Teaches, kung sama-sama mapahuhusay pa ang mga guro, kung sama-sama higit na malilinang natin ang mga mag-aaral.
A splendid afternoon, everyone. And we are so glad to be of service with you again here on DepEd Teaches. Shout out to all our dedicated and loyal viewers and supporters watching right now. Time flies fast and we're almost nearing the end of this year, 2021. But thank God we are able to continuously deliver the best content about the latest trends and issues in teaching and learning in the new normal. So stay with us this afternoon to all our viewers who are tuning in here in DepEd Philippines Facebook page, DepEd YouTube channel, DepEd Tayo, and of course our very own, the DepEd Teaches. So good afternoon to you, Ma'am Ana. What have we prepared for our audience in today's topic?
A pleasant afternoon to everyone. It's nice to be back here on DepEd Teaches. As always, we are grateful to our viewers for your constant support. So last week, we talked about the regional strategies and initiatives in math and science. And today, we will talk about my favorite subject, communication subject. and that is none other than English and Filipino. Because for this month's theme, we will try our best to discuss all learning areas and give opportunities to our partners in the field to showcase their best practices and programs in teaching these different learning areas since this new normal. So Sir July, considering the topic, what do you think are the challenges encountered by our English and Filipino teachers this new normal?
Well, Ma'am Ana, that's a good question. First, I'm thinking about reading. And we all know the fact that reading is a very essential, very fundamental skill needed for all. And it's the role of the English and Filipino teachers to explicitly teach reading skills. So given that we are doing distance learning, I wonder how our communication teachers are able to develop the reading skills of our learners. And also another challenge, Ma'am Ana, that I could think of is the limitation of the reading materials like the literary text that our learners are able to read since last year. So how about you, Ma'am Ana? What other things do you think are the challenges encountered in teaching English and Filipino in the new normal?
I agree with what you said, Sir July. It wasn't that easy to teach reading, especially in remote distance. So we really need to tap the help of our learning facilitators and of course the family members like our parents. After all, reading is developed when both school and home work and collaborate together. So in fact, Sir July, this month, we are celebrating the National Reading Month. And on 26, we have the Araw ng Pagbasa. So this only shows that our country, the Department of Education, truly values reading. And it's more than just foundational skill, it's a lifelong learning skill. Because after all, reading can improve our lives if we are good readers. And to add to the challenges you've mentioned, another I could think of is the limitations to do interactive activities with peers because the language class, we promote communicative-based teaching strategies where we emphasize interaction and activities to practice oral skills. So this is another challenge that most likely our communication teachers, both in English and Filipino, have to deal with.
I certainly agree with you, Ma'am Ana. I always imagine in English and Filipino classes, learners talk among each other, exchange ideas, and have opportunities to collaborate and communicate. Nonetheless, I believe our partners in the field, our teachers, are able to find ways to address such limitations and challenges. And today, we are blessed that we get to listen to one of our partners in the region to share their initiatives and programs in teaching English and Filipino in the new normal.
Sounds exciting, Sir July. But before we delve deep into this matter, let's play some game first related to our topic, English and Filipino. So, Sir July, what kind of jumping board activity did we prepare today for our active viewers?
Okay, so last time, if you can recall, we had a game about scientists and mathematicians. So today, we will talk about English and Filipino poets and playwrights. In other words, famous writers. So we will give you some clues with corresponding picture clue, and you must be able to guess who you think is the person being described behind the picture puzzle. So again, guess the name of the writer from the clues that we will give and from the pieces of their pictures that will be revealed. And we will give you 30 seconds to type in your answer in the comment section of our live streaming page. All right, so I hope the instructions are clear. And I hope also you are ready now to guess the name of the authors that we have prepared.
All right, sounds good, Sir July. So let's start with question number 1 or picture puzzle number 1, please. Okay, so let me read. So the first card, he is also known as Bard of Avon or Swan of Avon. Second, he is an English poet, dramatist, and actor, often called the English national poet and considered by many to be the greatest dramatist of all time. And for the last clue, He wrote around 37 plays for the theater and over 150 poems. No one can say the exact number because some of his work may have been lost over time. Who do you think is the writer behind this picture? All right, so let's find out the correct answer. Very easy. William Shakespeare. So as we all know, William Shakespeare occupies a unique position in world literature. So other poets such as Homer, Leo Tolstoy, Charles Dickens, they have transcended national barriers, but no writer's living reputation can compare to that of Shakespeare, according to Britannica, whose plays written in the late 16th and 17th century are continuously being performed and being read more often and in more countries than ever before. So definitely William Shakespeare, he is a great writer, his poetic power, and you can see in his clever way of writing, you can find memorable expressions, convincing and imaginatively stimulating lines present in his literary works.
That was a great start, Ma'am Anna. And you know, Ma'am Anna, for me, as a non-language major, William Shakespeare is really a big name. I just honestly regard him as one really of the greatest in English literature. And there are a lot of famous lines from his great works that are still used as quotations today. All right, so let's continue our excitement. For our second item, we can now show to the audience our first clue. He is a patriot, physician, and man of letters who was an inspiration to the Philippine nationalist movement. Second clue, he published the novels Social Cancer and The Reign of Greed, a passionate exposure of the evils of Spanish rule in the country that established his reputation as one of the leading spokesmen of the Philippine reform movement. And our final clue, he became the leader of the propaganda movement, contributing numerous articles to the newspaper La Solidaridad. Who is this author or writer we are referring to? Key in now your answer, our dear viewers, for 30 seconds. All right, time is up. So let's try to reveal now the correct answer. And I think all our viewers have gotten this correctly. So the answer is none other than Dr. Jose Rizal. And as we all know, Dr. Jose Rizal was a Filipino writer, an activist, a doctor, and a political martyr. His execution was a turning point for the country, and he strove to defend the political literature and reform, or rather political literature and reform propaganda. Dr. Rizal's body of work echoes the social inequities and patriotic passion that would come to define the Philippines at the turn of the 19th century. Rizal's most famous novels, Noli Me Tangere, drew attention to the unjust Spanish rule in the Philippines after its 1887 publication, and it's widely read all over the world today as its novel sequel, El Filibusterismo, in 1891. And both books were originally written in Spanish but more frequently published in Tagalog and English. So we have The Social Cancer in English translation of Noli Me Tangere, which means literally touch me not, and The Reign of Greed for El Filibusterismo.
All right, so sounds great. Of course, if we have William Shakespeare, we have Dr. Jose Rizal, and he's more than just a writer, but he is our national hero, and definitely all our viewers should have or should be able to get that answer, that correct answer. And every time I hear about Dr. Rizal's work, this reminds me of a familiar saying. They say that pen is mightier than the sword. And it is very evident with his contribution. He has proven that he can use literature to influence people and fight for our freedom. Okay, so to continue this time, let's find out or let's learn about female writers. So for the third question, so she is the first African-American woman to win the Nobel Prize in Writing or in Literature. Next, she is an American writer noted for examination of Black experience, particularly Black female experience within the Black community. And last clue, her first book is The Bluest Eye. Who do you think is this famous American writer? You have 30 seconds now to share your answer in our comment section. Okay, so let's find out the correct answer. So it's Toni Morrison. She's the first African-American woman to win the Nobel Prize in Writing. She edited book for 20 years right before she got fed up with what she was reading and took the plunge into writing. Her first book, The Bluest Eye, was published shortly afterward. And she also wrote Song of Solomon and Beloved, both of which deal with issues of racial prejudice. These publications elevated Morrison to become one of the best-known names in contemporary fiction. And if you are an inspiring author, you can believe with what Toni Morrison once said. If there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it.
All right. You know, Ma'am Ana, I remember Toni Morrison's beloved novel in its 1998 movie adaptation. So the movie, which is almost 3 hours, is very cerebral in nature, with a storyline featuring supernatural themes, murder, rape, and slavery, which really depicted the kind of treatment that African American has experienced then. Hence, this was so socially enlightening to the viewers. Okay, so let's now move on to our fourth and final puzzle. Let us show them our first clue. She is a Philippine national artist for literature. Second clue, she founded the Siliman National Writers Workshop, the first in Asia, with her husband, Edelberto K. Tiempo, after attending the Iowa Writers Workshop in the United States. For the third clue, her poems are intricate verbal transfigurations of significant experiences as revealed in two of her much anthologized pieces, The Little Marmoset, and Bonsai. All right. Who do you think this personality is? For 30 seconds, key in your answers now. Okay, time is up. Let's try now to reveal the correct answer. So the writer we are looking for here is none other than Edith L. Tiempo. Edith L. Tiempo, a poet, fictionist, a teacher, and literary critic, was one of the finest Filipino writers in English whose works are characterized by a remarkable fusion of style and substance, of craftsmanship and insight. She was born in Nueva Vizcaya, and her poems are intricate verbal transfiguration of significant experiences, as revealed in two of her anthologized pieces, The Little Marmoset and Bonsai. As fictionist, Edith Tiempo was a morally profound. Her language has been remarkable or remarked as descriptive, but unburdened by scrupulous detailing. She was an influential tradition in Philippine literature in English, and together with her husband, Edilberto K. Tiempo, she founded and directed the Siliman National Writers Workshop in Dumaguete City, which has produced some of the country's best writers. So that was our priming activity. We have shown you a mix of writers both in the classical and contemporary period. We have seen how men and women have used their prowess in writing and literature to influence and inspire people. And now, at this point, let us introduce our resource speaker who will shed light on teaching and learning in the new normal, regional strategies and initiatives for English and Filipino.
Armed with research competence and instructional leadership skills, Dr. Ilustre was recently promoted from Master Teacher 2 to Regional Education Program Supervisor in English Journalism and Foreign Language in DepEd Regional Office 3, Curriculum and Learning Management Division. As Regional English Supervisor, his main task includes periodic curriculum monitoring and evaluation of the K-12 English curriculum towards enhancing the management of delivery of the basic education curriculum. In addition, he is a writer, resource speaker, an international paper presenter.
Recently, he completed with flying colors his diploma in TESOL at Concordia International College in Vancouver, Canada. He has written action researches for DepEd and presented in the division, regional, and international research conferences. Presently, he is taking his second doctorate degree, Doctor of Education in English Language Teaching at Philomer Christian University in Rojas City in a full online modality. So please welcome the Education Program Supervisor in English from the Curriculum and Learning Management Division of DepEd Region 3, Dr. Ramil G. Ilustre.
The onslaught of the COVID-19 pandemic has brought extraordinary challenges in the educational system. Apparently, it has affected different facets, including our economy, the general health and welfare of people, and even education. Since 2020, we have all been battling against our invisible opponent. We are gradually embracing the fact that the world we were used to live in will be nowhere in sight for a long time. In education, policymakers, school administrators, teachers and parents, and learners have been doing their best to cope with the metamorphosis of the new normal has offered. New ways in teaching and learning were crafted so that Filipino learners could still receive the kind of education they deserve. Particularly in the English and Filipino subjects, there are multiple strategies that can be employed in the new normal. Let's begin with teaching strategies in English. First, video lecturettes. To most learners, English is not an easy subject. With the absence of face-to-face classes, English is even more problematic to parents and learners nowadays. Having teacher-made video lecturettes is one of the keys in addressing this problem. A video lecturette may only run for 5 minutes, focusing on the essentials of a particular competency. Therefore, teachers must be equipped with the basics of script writing and video editing. This may sound challenging to teachers, especially to those who are not yet exposed to such innovative strategies. But I think that this will be very helpful to the learners. Second, online reading assessment programs. Even if teachers and learners do not meet face-to-face, the learners' reading skills must not be compromised. To those learners who have internet connection at home, we may conduct reading assessments online. To those who do not, we may call them through their numbers. This requires the assistance of parents so that they could also monitor their children while the assessment is ongoing. Third, hybrid learning. Hybrid learning is one of the learning modalities currently used in some schools today. It is also called flexible learning because teachers adjust their strategies based on what the learners can produce or afford depending on their economic status. For example, if 60% of the learners have internet connection at home, then they will have short, enlightening discussions with their teachers. After these online discussions, they are given time to answer their modules. If 40% of the learners do not have internet or data connection, they may answer their modules with the teacher and parents' assistance through text. So, this mode of learning considers all types of learners to make sure that no one is left behind. Here are the teaching strategies in Filipino. First, TV-based learning instruction. TV-based learning has become one of the trends in Philippine education today. It was found out that integrating this into the learning competencies in the modules directly enhances students' learning. In the Filipino subject, grammar and literature lessons were made into TV-based lessons, and it evoked interest among the learners. They understood the complex concepts more. Instead of purely reading them in the modules, they comprehend the examples and ideas better because there is an interaction between the teacher and the learner. Second, synchronous and asynchronous sessions. Synchronous learning means that the teacher and the students in the subject engage with the lesson and with each other at the same time, but from different locations. The teacher interacts with the students in a real time by means of tools such as Zoom and Google Meet to live stream audio, video, and presentations, to hold live classes or meetings, to engage in live conversations, Google Docs, to simultaneously edit documents, and more. Asynchronous learning means that the teacher and the students in the subject all engage with the lesson at different times and from different locations. The teacher provides students with a sequence of units which the students move through as their schedules permit. Each unit might make use of assigned readings or uploaded media, online quizzes, discussion boards, and more. The teacher guides the students, provides them with feedback, and assesses them as needed. Synchronous and asynchronous online learning each have their place, depending on what a teacher is trying to achieve and the guidance that they may have received from their institution, faculty, or department. For example, synchronous live presentation allows students to ask questions while the presentation is in progress. Synchronous recorded presentation allows students time to deliberate and reflect before asking their questions, perhaps in an online discussion group. Live, synchronous chat office hours allow the teachers and the students to have an interaction that resembles a real conversation. Using a synchronous discussion board to collect and to respond to questions works better for students whose schedules would not permit them to engage in a live chat. Third, educational applications. The term education reform is very broad. It encompasses a lot of different models of pedagogy, from the flipped classroom to formative assessment to mobile learning. And while these models are distinct, they are all intuitive in nature. Interactivity, whether it be between peers or between students, and the education technology that they use, is crucial to make learning process more engaging. However, crafting a lesson plan that takes full advantage of interactive tools such as games and videos can be daunting. Fortunately, for today's educators, there are many online-based interactive learning sites that can make learning fun and engaging. Some of these include Quizlet Live, Kahoot, and Classcraft. There are different ways on how to interestingly gamify lessons in Filipino. Teaching in the new normal, especially with the new learning modalities, must allow students to be engaged. The challenge to teachers is to make the instructional design meaningful, memorable, motivational, and, in the end, measurable.
So thank you so much, Dr. Ramil Ilustre, for specific and concrete strategies that you have shared with us. And we hope we have sparked the curiosity and interest of our viewers to try and explore the strategies you have shared. And so to our live audience on DepEd Teaches Facebook page and the rest of our social media platforms, don't forget to share your insights and comments using the hashtag I support DepEd Teaches, and hashtag DepEd Teaches episode 44. You can also share your selfie post while you were listening in today's presentation. And your feedback will be much appreciated.
Okay, so just few reminders. This is the second entry under the theme teaching and learning and the new normal strategies and initiatives across all learning areas. Don't forget to register. Next week is a continuation of our discussion around this theme. If you need a recap, just visit our official Facebook page, the DepEd Teaches. Once again, teachers, thank you so much for tuning here, and we hope to see you again next week.
On behalf of the curriculum and instruction strand, let's move forward together. For success is not final, for failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. And just like what we have been doing here in DepEd Teaches, our mission will continue, and that is empowering teachers, enabling learners. A blessed afternoon, everyone.